President Trump addressed the United Nations regarding religious freedom. He's made some comments on global warming. We've got children all over the country in hysteria that we've only got 12 years to make it. This is Randall Terry, and I promise I will be a voice of resistance. You have to feel sorry for these children. Can you imagine being a 14-year-old, being 8, and having adults all around you say, we only have 12 years to live, and then the planet will be destroyed, and it's President Trump's fault, and Virginia coal miners, and fossil fuels, and we are to blame? Can you imagine how many hundreds of thousands of conversations there were all over the country? Because on Friday, in case you missed the news, there was a global march against climate change. I'm sorry for laughing, but it just strikes me as so funny. So they had these kids. New York City gave permission for kids to skip school. We don't know how many other school districts. There's not been a final tell yet, but there were school districts all over the country that let the kids out of school to have a march against climate change. Now, remember, it was global cooling when I was a kid. When I was in my teens, they were talking about the ice age coming back. Then it shifted to global warming. Oh, and they gave dates too. There were dates that if we didn't get everything squared away by 1999 or the year 2000, we would be gone. Catastrophic, cities underwater, entire countries devastated. It was all, of course, a fabrication. And now, so that was the global cooling. The global warming thing hasn't worked. Ice caps melting. Before it was ice age coming, then it was ice caps melting, glaciers melting, cities going underwater because there's so much water coming. The glaciers are coming, the glaciers are coming, the water is coming, the water is coming. Climate change. They had to settle on a term that could mean anything. And it's about the weather. You understand, at the end of the day, this whole thing is about the weather. They want to blame Republicans for hurricanes. They want to blame Donald Trump and anybody who believes in using the fossil fuels that God gave us. By the way, that is such a pathetic name, fossil fuels. It's a renewable energy. Trust me on this one, okay? Oil is a renewable energy. We'll come back to that someday in depth, and it's a lot of fun to look at it. If the world really was using fuels made of dinosaur bones, which was the theory when I was a kid, I think that Saudi Arabia would have collapsed by now. Because the caverns underneath the country from all the oil that's been sucked out would be well large enough for them literally to just suck the whole country down into some chasm thousands of feet deep. But I digress. First it was glaciers, then it was global warming, now it's climate change, and now it just means weather. Hurricanes in Oklahoma, fossil fuels. I'm sorry, tornadoes in Oklahoma, fossil fuels. Hurricanes in the Caribbean, fossil fuels. It's too hot, fossil fuels. It's too cold, fossil fuels. Too dry, fossil fuels. Too much rain, fossil fuels. And think about this for a minute. The people who are against this, what are their underlying premises? One, they're anti-human. They're Malthusian. They believe that there are too many people on the planet. They're almost to the man, almost, not all of them, but almost to the man, pro-abortion, pro-birth control, pro-population control. These are people who silently applaud what China does by having a limit of 1 child per family, or now in some circumstances, 2 children per family. That's who's behind this stuff. Don't follow the money in this one, follow the idiocy. With Al Gore, you could follow the money. But follow the philosophy. They're Malthusians, and most of them, again, not all of them, but most of them are anti-American. You don't see them going after China and India. China and India are the world's 2 largest polluters by a long shot. Okay, not by a little, but by a long shot. They don't have the same emissions controls that we do. They don't have the same controls regarding waste that we do. And they have way more people than both of them are over 1 billion people. So you don't see them carping on China or harping on India. Why? Because it's America's economy that they want to destroy. It's because they're anti-American. They're anti-people and they're anti-American. Again, not all of them, but most of them. And when you see Ocasio-Cortez going, we've only got 12 years to live, she's lying through her teeth. It's a lie. It's a fabrication. It's nonsense. It's not true. Any more than it was true in 1975 that the glaciers were going to come back. Any more than it was true in the 1990s that there was going to be a rise of the ocean and they were going to wipe out entire cities. It's a fabrication. It's not true. It's not science. It's not science. What do you believe in, Randall? I'll tell you when I come back. Don't go away. Introducing Roxy Guitar. If you're a guitar or bass player, whether you play acoustic or electric, check out Roxy Guitar. I've been playing for over 40 years and seen guitar stores all over America. I've never seen a store like Roxy Guitar. Roxy Guitar has over 700 guitars in stock, over 1,500 pedals, over 200 amps. For the beginner or price-conscious buyer, there's Michael Kelly guitars. For the serious player or professional, Roxy Guitar has the finest selection of guitar lines I've ever seen. You know I love Warrior guitars. Roxy Guitar has over 100 Warriors in stock. They have Heritage, G&L, Gretsch, John Sears, BC Rich, Duesenberg, Dean, legendary guitars at great prices, including pre-owned Gibsons, Fenders, and more. Let them know you heard about Roxy Guitar from Randall Terry and receive 10% or more off your purchase on select items. Go to roxyguitar.com. Welcome back, friend. I believe in clean air. I believe in clean water. I believe that it was wrong for people to be dumping pollutants into the Great Lakes. And, oh look, we fixed it. I believe it was wrong for paper mills to be dumping toxins into rivers. And oh look, we fixed it. Okay? We fixed it. I grew up in a home where my mom and dad were constantly talking about acid rain. That was the smokestacks were emitting toxins in America. They were drifting north, and then the rain that was coming from Canada would drift, the clouds would pick up the toxins in the molecules and then would rain it down upon us. I don't know how much of acid rain was true or false. I have not done reading on it in many years, but this I know. We cleaned up our emissions from our smokestacks. And it's also interesting to me that a lot of the people who are against coal are also against nuclear power plants. What do they want? Do they want us to go back to the Stone Age? You saw 3-4 weeks ago where some idiotic government agency, I think it was the EPA, had a new list of recommendations about setting people's thermostats at 80 degrees or something. And then another group of people came out with press releases to the elderly saying, do not listen to these recommendations. It could be fatal to you. Because old people, once their body stabilizes and they getting too hot too quickly could cause some people to go into a stroke or into heart failure or into heavy perspiration, which could lead to other health issues. So we have people whose politics are so convoluted. They don't want nuclear energy. They don't want coal. They don't want to frack. They don't want to drill. What do they want? Want fewer people. They want fewer people. They want warmer homes. You've got Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez literally talking about retrofitting every single building that's home and business in America so that it does not need any fossil fuels to run. This is insanity. It's not science. It's not science. It's stupidity, and with some people it's malice, and it's hypocrisy. Because when you look at the planes that Al Gore and Bernie Sanders fly, and you look at the size of their limos, they're not running around in electric cars. They're not taking commercial jet flights. Even just as an example. Hey, I'm going to make an example of how you would not put up such a big carbon footprint. I'm not going to use my little 12-seat jet, Al Gore, for me to travel alone. I will go first class on a major commercial airline and then completely eliminate all of the toxins and the pollutants that my Gulfstream aircraft put out into the atmosphere. They don't do it. Why? Why does Obama buy, I heard a report he's buying a $15 million home somewhere in New Jersey at the oceans. Why? The Hamptons or something? Why is he doing it? If it's going to flood because of global warming, climate change, why is he doing it? He doesn't believe it. It's a lie. It's to get control of people's lives. It's to reduce our standard of living. It's to elevate other nations' standard of living. This is payback, political payback for America's prosperity. And with the Russians and the communists that have been involved with this, it's about, hey, they might have won the Cold War, but we will win the coal war. And you don't see Russia cutting back on its natural gas pipelines. You understand that 90% of natural gas in Europe comes from Russia? Natural gas is the lion's share of heating for Europe in the winter. And that natural gas comes through massive pipelines that run through multiple locations throughout Europe from Russia. You don't see Russia saying, yeah, we've really got an emissions problem. We really have a climate change problem. And we're going to strive to develop electric energy and to get rid of all of this natural gas. No. And you don't hear too many English. You did hear that one lady from Sweden, I think it was a Swedish prime minister, who was literally, I think it was Sweden. I was listening to her voice earlier today. I know it's not fair that you leave us younger people to deal with this. You need to deal with it. Do yourself a favor and take a bicycle ride throughout the mountains of Europe. Just ride through Europe, or then come to America and go the Atlantic to the Pacific. Just ride your bike. Take side roads of Interstate 40, or take side roads off of Interstate 70. Take Interstate 90 if you want to be a little bit cooler. Take Interstate 10 if you don't mind heat and sun. And go coast to coast and just smell the untold amounts of fresh air. Just do it. And then you'll realize that all of this nonsense, that the number of people could destroy the planet. That was another thing. Before it was about fossil fuels, it was just about the number of people. We couldn't sustain the number of people. Now they're trying to make it about fossil fuels, but it's the same people, it's the same spirit. They are anti-human, and many of them are anti-American. And we have to resist it. We have to mock it because it's not science. It is a fallacy. It is a fabrication. I know I've said that, but there's a lot of people that are starting to get nervous, like, oh, what if they're right? They're not right. They've never been right. And the number of pollutants going into the air in America and in other European countries are a lot less than they were 50 years ago because we know a lot more and we've cleaned up our act. So don't buy it. I've got to take a break. Really, I do. But I will be back. Don't go away.
I also want to speak tonight directly to Muslims throughout the world. We respect your faith. Its teachings are good and peaceful. And those who commit evil in the name of Allah blaspheme the name of Allah.
We have reaffirmed again and again that the United States is not and never will be at war with Islam. Islam teaches peace.
Islam is a religion of peace. They are not Muslims, they are monsters.
We've been told that Muslim terrorists have hijacked the peaceful religion of Islam. But Islamic art and literature tell a very different story. To know the truth, we only have to study the narrative of the founder of Islam, Mohammed, in his own words. Welcome back, friend. The left-wing media and the Democrats think they have the latest smoking gun because President Trump spoke to the leader of Ukraine about Joe Biden and his son Hunter concerning the deals that Hunter was involved in that may have resulted in criminal prosecution against him. Now, for those of you who don't know what I'm talking about, when Vice President Biden was actually vice president, he went to Ukraine and he said, you have 6 hours to fire the prosecutor involved in this certain investigation. Now, Biden brags about it on tape. In fact, go ahead, play the tape.
I remember going over convincing our team, or others too, convincing us that we should be providing for loan guarantees. And I went over for, I guess, the 12th, 13th time to Kyiv, and I was supposed to announce that there was another $1 billion loan guarantee. And I had gotten a commitment from Poroshenko and from Yatsenyuk that they would take action against the state prosecutor, and they didn't. So they said they were walking out to press conference. I said, no, I said, we're not going to give you the $1 billion. They said, you have no authority. You're not the president. The president said. I said, call him. I said, I'm telling you, you're not getting the $1 billion. I said, you're not getting the $1 billion. I'm going to be leaving here. And I think it was, 6 hours? I said, I'm leaving in 6 hours. If the prosecutor's not fired, you're not getting the money. Well, son of a bitch. Got fired. And they put in place someone who was solid.
All right, so there you have it. He's bragging at a Council on Foreign Relations meeting that he told them, you've got 6 hours to fire the prosecutor. This is the prosecutor that was looking into his son, Hunter. And Biden said, I will withhold $1 billion. I will personally see to it that $1 billion is not released to you unless you fire this prosecutor before I leave. You've got 6 hours. And they did it. They buckled. Now, this was an act of corruption. Now, Biden is bragging about it. Now, Biden is saying he didn't know that that prosecutor was investigating his son. Now, his son says his dad knew. So the media is going crazy because President Trump, in a conversation with the new president of Ukraine, suggested that they reopen the investigation to see if there is corruption, if some criminal acts were involved, and if Biden was using his position as vice president to leverage $1 billion U.S. giveaway, in so many words. We were giving the Ukrainian government $1 billion to do something. I don't know what it was. Giving them foreign aid, government aid of $1 billion. And Biden said, if you don't drop this, I'm going to see to it that the $1 billion doesn't come through. And so the guy was fired. All right? Biden's bragging about it. This may have been an illegal act by Biden. It was certainly an immoral act. It was certainly him basically leveraging injustice out of somebody to protect his son and holding $1 billion over them that the Congress had put in the budget to give them. So the media is going crazy because President Trump had this discussion, rather than going crazy that Biden is on tape bragging that he did this. So it's going to backfire. It's going to backfire, friends, because if it turns up that the evidence is preserved. Now, what we don't know is this happened 6 years ago. And I'm not sure how many years ago, but it happened a while ago. And what if the investigation in Ukraine, all of the facts, all of the paperwork, all of the empirical evidence is gone? Well, then if there was anything criminal being committed and Hunter Biden was in any way involved in it, or Joe Biden knew about it, and all that evidence is gone, then some people are going to walk scot-free. Okay? So we don't know what's going to happen if they reopen the investigation. But the media is trying to spin this as if President Trump did something corrupt by asking another government to investigate a crime that may have occurred. Do you see on its face the stupidity of this? Take it in any other thing. Deutsche Bank, or one of the latest villains. What if we called up another country and said, hey, there's a bank doing business in your country and we're concerned that they may be violating the law in America or in your own country or international banking rules. You think it'd be wrong for a president to say, hey, could you check that out? I mean, how could it be wrong? How could it be unethical? Well, it's unethical because Biden is a presidential candidate. Oh, so wait. When somebody becomes a presidential candidate, anything that they've done that's illegal or any bribes or any blackmail that they've been involved in, now it's off limits because they are a politician. This sounds like the criminal underworld to me. This sounds like Wilson Fisk in Daredevil. Kingpin, you know what I'm talking about? Once you reach a certain level, you're above the law. Is that what we're saying about Biden? And that Trump is the villain for suggesting that if Biden or his son were involved in something criminal, that they should be investigated by the government authorities who have the authority to do it? Do you see the insanity of this? This isn't going to hurt President Trump, people. Trust me. It's going to come around to bite the Democrats. I'll be right back. Don't go away. What Would Mohammed Do? Islamic Terrorism Explained is the best movie series documentary ever produced on the life of Muhammad and Islam. How do I know? Because it's what critics are saying. John Moore, radio host and author, said, I learned more from What Would Mohammed Do about Islam and Islamic terrorism than I've learned from everything I ever read and watched in my entire life. Friends, this is what the experts are saying. No one has ever done what we've done. I encourage you to get 1, 2, 4 copies. Call 304-289-3700 or order it at the address or the website that you see on the screen. Introducing Roxy Guitar. If you're a guitar or bass player, whether you play acoustic or electric, check out Roxy Guitar. I've been playing for over 40 years and seen guitar stores all over America. I've never seen a store like Roxy Guitar. Roxy Guitar has over 700 guitars in stock, over 1,500 pedals, over 200 amps. Let them know you heard about Roxy Guitar from Randall Terry and receive 10% or more off your purchase on select items. Go to roxyguitar.com. Have you ever asked yourself why the early Christians living in the Roman Empire were persecuted and prosecuted, sometimes imprisoned or tortured or even executed? You know why? It was because of their politics. These men preach things that it is not lawful for us to hear, that there is another king, one Jesus. The early Christians said there's a God above Caesar. There's a King of kings, a Lord of lords, a Son of God that's not the Caesar Son of God, but the Son of the God. He is the King of kings. He's the big boss. It was their politics that they dared to say that there was someone above the state, that there was a deity who had a law that Caesar was obligated to obey, that Caesar was obligated to submit to. This was clearly a scriptural position, clearly a theological and spiritual position, but it also was rightly condemned. The condemnation was not right, but rightly assessed as a political position. So when we as American Christians say we want Judeo-Christian ethics, or we want the laws of God, or we want the principles of Christianity to be the foundation of our laws and our culture, and then we are castigated. This is horrible. You can't have religion and politics. There's a separation between church and state, blah, blah, blah. It's the same spirit as the movers and the shakers of the Roman Empire who persecuted the Christians nearly 2,000 years ago. Jesus is Lord. He is King of kings. And we do have an obligation to bring his laws, his rules, and the knowledge of his sovereignty into the public square, into politics, because it's true. And let the naysayers howl, let them whine, let them complain because of our political and religious beliefs. But the truth is, Jesus is Lord. God bless you.